Hi there, I'm Dean Heskin, President and CEO of Swiss America Trading, and you are tuned in to our podcast, The Secret War on Cash. I have my co-host with me. He's going to slide right in, Chris Agalestos. Chris, thanks for sliding right in. Nice to have you here today. Actually, I should say thank CC, our producer, for sliding you in.
Yeah.
How are you? How are things?
I'm doing well, doing well. Just busy, man. It's been crazy, which is a good thing. I'd rather be busy than slow.
As- Certainly, I would be totally in agreement with you there. What is interesting or amazing is that we're it seems like there has been a ton of stuff that's happened just in the course of this year, and this year is not even 1 month old at this point.
I know.
I
It's
mean, it
nonstop.
is just I feel like literally it's October of 2026 right now. And as far as gold prices are concerned and silver prices, it might as well be, because
Yeah.
it's kind of like they shot out of the gate and got just a it's like the tortoise and the hare. The hare got far enough in front where you could take a little nap, but the
Can
problem is then
relax
the
a while.
tortoise caught up. So but that we're not here to talk about that. Actually, we're going to take a break from gold and silver, as active as that topic has been, and talk about BRICS. I don't know when the
Hmm.
last time we did talk about BRICS, but I do know this: we are talking about it now. And let's see, from the Watcher Guru here, BRICS new members list could soon include new country, analysts say. Now, that's been a common headline for a while. What they're talking about here is that how Zimbabwe has
Hmm.
formally submitted their application. And it's interesting because these there are, as I read through this article here, Chris, and we've talked about it for sure,
Hmm.
but like there are several nations who they want in, and BRICS is not. I don't know exactly what their process is, but they're not like just sitting there saying, "Oh, you want in, you're in. You want in, you're in."
No.
Um, this is something that they're very selective in who they allow in, and as they let them in, they fill out an application. There is a process. They have to get approval. I believe it's a unanimous approval. I'm not 100% sure on that, but there is.
Yeah, I think you're right.
It just shows that. I mean, if you really stop and think about it, it shows that they have a product to offer,
Hmm.
because
Yep.
not only are other nations interested in it, but they're willing to, go through a process and a waiting period even. And these and it's interesting because this isn't like, a waiting period because it's a new company and we want to make sure they're established, whatever. These are countries that have been around for centuries.
Yeah.
They all know who each other are. And
Yeah.
so again, it would be curious to me to know like what actually that process is. But what I think really is a mouthful or says it all in this article here, but kind of towards the end of it, joining BRICS would entrench Zimbabwe's trade and business ties with some of the fastest growing economies in the world on more mutually beneficial
Mhm.
terms, excuse me. It would
Yeah.
also enhance Zimbabwe's influence on global political and trade issues through closer cooperation with BRICS member states. And again, that goes back to, as I mentioned a moment ago, how it speaks to the fact that BRICS does have something to offer here. And the way they're looking at it is the involvement with these BRICS nations are some of the fastest growing economies in the world. And it's very tough to read that, knowing that you're not going to find the United States of America on that list right now. And I think we need to be
Yeah.
on that list. So,
Yeah.
what's your thoughts there, Chris?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is, like you said, it's supply and demand. They're not just doing this for no reason. There is a demand out there for nations to have more of a voice in currency exchanges, between other member nations, and not to just go along with the kind of, I say old school, but I mean since like World War II,
The
the
status
Western
quo.
system. Yeah, that's and that was dominated by the U.S. dollar. And I think they are going about it, very meticulously, and making sure that they add members that are going to add a strength to the organization. I see it like they're putting together a sports team, and you're not going to just let everybody play. you're going to pick the people that make the most sense, the teammates that can help your organization to perform better, and be stronger. And I think because of that, it causes even more demand for other nations to want to jump on board, because they're putting something together that is clearly working. I mean, they've grown so much over the last several years. They have, I think it's around a dozen full member nations. They've got about another dozen partner countries and 20 some 20 some nations applying to join on board as well. So this is, this isn't just something they're throwing together at the last minute. It's very well thought out. There is a lot of demand for it, and it's kind of like gold and silver prices when we were talking the other day. It's not going to slow down. I mean, this is continuing to speed up and build momentum.
You're absolutely right. And that, I think a big reason for that, if we skip to our next article here, also from Watcher Guru, new members to join in the 2026 strategic expansion. So it starts talking pretty much a lot of similarities between this
Hmm.
article and the last one. But a key point I wanted to look at here, and for those tuned in, these are some pretty quick reads. But if you do want to learn a little more about BRICS, if you're not familiar with it, both of these articles are pretty good at giving you kind of like a bird's eye view of it. But again, going about a third of the way down, 10 partner nations now working with the bloc. And I
Hmm.
wanted to highlight this part of it, Chris, because, as we talk about these BRICS nations who are part of the official establishment, they call it
Hmm.
an alliance, actually, the official alliance of BRICS. But they've also expanded this into, again, as it says here, where they have partner nations that they work kind of in the same um, vein, if you will, as BRICS nations, but they're not officially part of it. And
Hmm.
to your point, Chris, it just shows that they have a product and what countries are believing to be a good product that they're bringing to the market. And at the end of the day, this is something that I think should be of pretty big concern. I know it is of concern to President Trump and the White House, because
Hmm.
this is really was kind of a major part or component as to why the tariff wars really escalated before he even took office, before President Trump took office. But another thing, and I wanted to also highlight this in the second article, towards the end, it talks about how India takes leadership for 2026. And India officially assumed the BRICS presidency on January 1st of this year. The reason I wanted to mention that is because the detractors, or those who were of the belief that BRICS was not going to, be a thing, it wasn't going to be an issue, they were going to go away. The main reason that those detractors cited was because of lack of unity, lack of organization, that
Hmm.
they just couldn't communicate, and there's too many differing views, opinions, so on and so on and so on. And this speaks clearly to the opposite of this. They have a president that
Yeah.
they have decided, is going to be the basically the leader or the head of this alliance. They have these nation. They have a structure, meaning they take applications, and they don't just summarily let everyone in. They take applications, and then whatever again that process is, they ultimately decide who they're going to let in. And then they also have, the ability to, okay, you're not in, but we'd like to work with you in our brick structure. And so it
Yeah.
really is one of those things that, for those, again, those people who said, well, this has no chance because there's no structure to it. I think it's some of the best structure I've seen on a geopolitical scale in a long
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, absolutely. They're organized and working together. And I find it interesting too that India has been one of the nations over the last year or so that has sort of been downplaying the fact that they're moving away from the U.S. dollar. They still
Right.
obviously they still use the U.S. dollar in a lot of their trade, but they've kind of downplayed their membership, if you will, and spoken very positively of the U.S. for the most part, in the media. But
Right.
then here you go. Now they're leading this organization whose entire goal is to distance themselves from the West and the U.S. dollar.
Well,
So I think it's a case of pay attention to their actions, not necessarily what they're
Their
saying in the
words,
media.
right?
Yeah.
No, you're 100, and you remember when Trump, even prior to taking office, when he attacked basically BRICS head on, and then
Hmm.
started talking about all the tariffs. India was very quick to say they really weren't on. They literally were saying they weren't on board per se with BRICS, and we
Yeah.
talked about that in our podcast because they were like leading up to that, they were like all in. I mean, they're
Yeah.
the eye, they're the eye in
Yeah.
BRICS,
That's right. That's right.
and then next thing you know, and we talked about this as well last year. They right at the beginning, they said no, 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 that we're not really on board with this, and it couldn't have been 30 to 60 days later they were being quoted again, and they were full
Hmm.
steam ahead talking to Putin and the whole bit. So I mean
Yeah.
I think again it really speaks to the fact that there's something to this, and I think it, sadly or unfortunately, is something that could be detrimental to the United States. I mean, this is growing by leaps and bounds. It's probably the only thing growing faster than it right now is the price of gold and silver. So
That's about right.
anyway,
Yep.
anyway, all right. Well, thank you for that, Chris.
Yeah.
If people want to learn more about this, what can they do?
Go to the website, www.swissamerica.com. You can request info. I think it's on the upper right hand corner of the website there. You can also call or text 1 800 289 26. I'm sorry, 1 800 289 2646, right?
Got
Whew.
it. Bingo. We've only had that number for about
I know.
44 years now, I think.
Well, I go between giving out the local number and the 800 number, and sometimes I get a little brain fried, and this is one of
Well,
those
here, I
weeks.
don't want to totally fry your brain or those listening, but not only is it 1 800 289 2646, but if you're older like me, it's
Yeah.
actually 1 800 BUYCOIN, buy
Yeah.
coin, not BY coin,
Right.
BUYCOIN. And for us old people, we remember on the rotary phones exactly how that worked. So,
Yep.
anyway, all right. Well, thanks for tuning in. For those of you doing so, and if you're not subscribed to our podcast, please do so. And Chris, thank you for the information. Look forward
Yep.
to talking to you more in the future. And other than that, have a great rest of your week. Talk to you soon.
Yep. Take care.